you can't turn your phone while we're recording. Oh. Is that? Am I wonky? Am I on the side? Is anyone watching? Can you let me know if you're watching, if I am the right way up or if I'm like sideways? Can you give me a thumbs up if it's looking all right? Okay, just wait a few minutes to see.
You're on your side.
Am I? I have to turn it on its side then. Hold on. How do we do that? Technical hitches. I suddenly realised that I can't go live from desktop. This is the problem. So I suddenly have to grab my phone. It's not going to work, is it? My technical assistant's helping me. It's sideways, says Alana. Thank you. Is it the right way up now?
You're going to have to hold it for a minute.
Still sideways. Right, let me finish and start again because I think it won't let me do it once it's... Oh, it's not. It's the right way up. Is it the right way up now? What are you doing watching Claire Diane, you little minx? You're already qualified. It's okay now. Thank you, Alana. I don't know what we're going to do. I can't hold you. I can't hold you forever. Thank you, Alana. Right, let's try this. I just wanted a few people on here who I know do not want to be psychologists, but thank you very much for the watch party. Okay, we're good. Is it looking all right, technical expert? Great. He's silent. He's a very good technical expert. Thank you, Claire. Okay. All right.
It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it's definitely me. Okay. Right. Let's kick off. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me already, I'm Dr. Marianne Trent, and I'm a clinical psychologist. And I am aware that come sort of 1st of September every year for a number of years, things got just a bit exciting and a bit like, because it's the clinical applications forms and they become live, and then you've got till like 1st of December or something to get your form in. So I thought it might be really useful to have a forum just as a bit of a chat, really, to think about whether anyone's got any questions about the application process. I know that not everyone is in the fortunate position where they have somebody who's qualified and already doing the job that they really want to do or think they want to do. And so I thought it might be an opportunity to just think with some of you guys about whether you've got any questions, whether I can be of any help, because I remember it being a really exciting process, but it could be really daunting as well. So first of all, I will tell you a little bit about me. So like I said, I'm a qualified clinical psychologist. I can't even say it, but I am. And I qualified in 2011, so a little while ago now, but not as long as some of the people that I've seen are watching this. So we've got a very expert panel on hand as well. So perhaps they can answer any questions that you might have, as well as me. So I work for the NHS, but I also work in private practice. I work in adult mental health in my NHS capacity. I've also worked in child and adolescent mental health services with one of the ladies who is watching here as well, and I did that for a period of about 4 years. And like I said, I'm also in private practice, and I tend to specialise in sort of trauma, developmental trauma, a bit of grief. I seem to have found myself a bit of a niche as a grief expert, but also depression and anxiety. So, have any of you got any questions straight up, or shall I just have a bit of a chat about the process generally? Anyone got any questions? Anyone want to know what that noise was? That's my fridge. Don't put that on your form, that won't get you very far. So I'll tell you a bit about my application process. So it was very much like my driving test. It was third time's a charm. So I applied the first time when I think I was doing an honorary assistant post, and it was very speculative. Even my neighbour's watching. Hi Paul. Fancy training as a psychologist? You've retired, but there's always time. So I was doing an honorary assistant post, and I did that. And I guess this is perhaps useful information as well. If you don't yet have any kind of experience in psychology at all, then good question, Cicalia. I will get back to you in just a second. I'll scroll back. So I really knew that I wanted to be a psychologist. I was working in physical rehab for a council, loving my job, but knowing that actually I really wanted to be a psychologist and thinking, how can I do this? So I knew of a psychologist who was kind of linked and kind of involved with some of our clients, but I'd never managed to find myself in a room with her at the same time. So I just sent her an email, and I just said, I'd really love to be a psychologist. I wonder if I might be able to do an honorary post with you. And I did that by taking annual leave. So I did it for 10 weeks. I took an annual leave day for 10 weeks and went and kind of joined her at clinics and did a leaflet for her. And it meant that I then had someone really useful to help guide me and shape me as a psychologist, and she helped me kind of support me through my first form. So that's where I got started, and then thereafter I was able to feel confident enough to talk the talk and walk the walk and get my first paid assistant post, which was with St Andrews. So I then applied that year as well, and I didn't get on. And I applied the next year, and literally just kind of about a day or so before I was about to have to post my form, I got a call to say that I'd been offered my first NHS post. So I worked in my St Andrews post for like 16 months, something like that. And then at the point when I was about to submit my form, I had an NHS post, so I was able to put that on my form as well. And then I did that for 6 months, and I had some interviews, and I got on the course. So that was my third attempt. So a question from Cicalia. Sorry if I've got that wrong. Beautiful name. I was looking at the form. How would you recommend summarising your experience for each role in 150 words? So I have to level with you, Cicalia. I haven't looked at the form this year, but I'm assuming that it's perhaps similar to all the forms that have been around before. So it looks like they now ask you to break it down, which I don't think I did for my form, specific to think about your role. So 150 words is not a lot, is it? What I would say is that every single word needs to count. So when I look back at my form, I sweated over it. So it started in September, and I worked up until sort of about a week before the end of December. At the end of November, I worked on it every night. So I was working full time and doing a master's, and got some other bits going on as well at the time. I'm sure this was like 2007, but every evening, every weekend, I was on the sofa in my parents' house doing my form, and I just wanted it to be like as good as it could possibly be. So I guess it depends, how many posts you've had, Cicalia. So if you've had a variety, oh, good, got it right, lovely, Cicalia. If you've had a variety of posts, then you can afford to draw on different things across that post. If you haven't, then you're going to need to perhaps summarise your main responsibilities and think about where else in the form you can showcase your talents. And I guess this might be a good opportunity to thinking about looking at the form. I probably should have done that before, and if you want to do this again, I can perhaps look at that a bit more detail. So do I think Alana, do you think mentioning lived experience could be okay? Do you mean, Alana, because you haven't yet secured your first kind of relevant psychology post, or do you mean elsewhere in the form? Because I certainly mentioned some of my lived experience, but it was in the section about, about you. So what I would say is, don't put, I go to keep fit once a week, and I like a bit of swimming, and, ta-da! You've got to make yourself sound interesting. So in the form. So Alana, do you mean in the form? Say a bit more. Say what you mean. Radio silence. Let's hope my fridge makes another noise. Give us a bit of entertainment. Type faster, Alana. The pressure. Okay, so yeah, in my, I don't have my form to read you. And would it be fair if I did? I don't know. But I, tried to make sure that people read my form and wanted to meet me, that I sounded like a full person. So Alana says, if I were to talk about undergoing CBT and it being helpful, would that be useful? Certainly, yeah. I guess in terms of how much you want to share is entirely up to you, because when I'm in private practice, when I'm in NHS practice, sometimes I don't read that much about a patient before I meet them. And my clinical supervisor's watching now, and she'll be like, "You what? You don't read them?" And I don't, and I level with patients, because sometimes it can feel a bit daunting for someone to know loads about you before you know anything about them. So if you're happy to talk about, what you benefited from and how that has fueled you up to be able to do things either differently or better, or to offer the same experience and why, then I think, Alana, that would be a really useful experience. And of course you can't be stigmatised for accessing mental health support, but for some people, if they've perhaps got a more significant mental health diagnosis or history, they may not choose to disclose that on the form. But if you want to be your genuine self, and that's really important to you, and that has fueled your commitment and determination, Gemma Nichols, you should definitely apply to clinical training. If that's really, do it, Gemma. Go on. Go on. Is that why you're tuning in? That would be exciting. If you're wanting to do that, if you're wanting to become a psychologist because partly of your experiences, then I think that's really important. I think that's really important to put that on your form. And it might be useful for me to tell you, so I trained with Coventry and Warwick, but when I was last involved with selection, I was actually working in Birmingham. So I was on the Birmingham selection panel. So I believe I did that twice. I think I did that twice. So I was, I think I was on a personal suitability panel. And the only time I get to see the forms at that point would be sort of 10 or 15 minutes before that person walks in the room. And I'd be looking at it with a service user, so that was my panel. And I'd be looking at it and I'd be thinking, do I want to meet this person? What do they sound like? Birmingham has a tendency to be quite an academic course, and sometimes it was heavily academic, but there wasn't much personal. So what I want to do is look at a form and really know what makes you unique. Why should I be looking at you in the paper sort to think, yeah, this person's really got something. They've really got a sense of their own individuality. They really know where they're at. I really think that training is for them right now, and I'd really welcome thinking with them in the room about them really, and about why psychology is right for them, to give them a bit of a grilling really, but a compassionate grilling. And when I was discussing with my service user who was with me at the time, when the person would leave the room, I'd be saying to myself, and as much as the service user, if this person was on my team, would I feel comfortable to say to them, "Oh, I'm really sorry about this, but I've forgotten my wallet. Would I be able to borrow a £5 so I can pay for my parking or get some lunch?" And if you are not coming across to me like that, then to be honest, you're not a team player. I want someone to be a likeable person who feels like a normal person first. So I always say that I'm a human first and a psychologist second. I want you to be a human. I want you to show me what makes you human, what makes you unique, but also a flavour of what it's going to be like to be in the room with you. So I know when we first started interviewing, there wasn't a measure for sort of comfortability of how comfortable it was to be in the room, but that's changed now. I believe that is on there, and so I would say if you ever find yourself feeling a bit woo, then you just do what I teach my clients to do, and that's just take a moment, just think about where you are on the window of tolerance. Just take a moment, take a breath, and just check that you're coming from a place where you can actually engage your thinking brain and engage your best self, rather than a position where you're, up in the red, kind of verging on a panic attack. Oh, good. Rob Wood's watching. Hi, Rob. So, has anyone got any other questions about the clinical application process? Has anyone applied already? Is anybody definitely applying this time around? Have you had interviews already? So I was running an assistants group with another one of my qualified colleagues. Was that really just Friday just gone? No, it was the Friday before that, I think. Yes, it was. And it was really mixed. To some people, I think, have just sort of in their first assistant post. Some people had actually had an interview already last year, but it hadn't worked out, and then they decided to give it a break to give themselves more chance to have experience. I know I'm not disclosing too much, Alana, but I think you found me via LinkedIn. So are you an assistant already? Are you hoping to be an assistant? Are you coming via the research route? Are you a nurse? It can be so varied. So my clinical course had someone who'd been a physical health nurse. It had somebody who had been a teacher. I don't know if we had a social worker as well, but I know that other people have trained and got successfully on courses after being social workers. So you don't always need to go via the traditional route. You just need to have your psychology degree and then sort of your BPS accreditation, which I know you do have, Gemma Nichols. And this is a band 7 post. Oh no, it's not, is it? It's band 6 to train, band 7 to qualify, but you have got this, Gemma. So if you're at all tempted, you should definitely do this. But I suspect you're just giving me some solidarity because you're amazing, so thank you. One of the best things about being a psychologist is the people you meet along the way, honestly. I've been so fortunate. So Alana, I was in an AP post in IAPT, and then trainee PWP, that's Psychological Wellbeing Practitioner, isn't it? I'm now an AP in Specialist CAMS. I will be applying my second time this year. I'd say already that sounds really strong, Alana. Really strong, because you've got a variety there. So was your trainee PWP, is that with adults? I'm guessing that AP IAPT was adults, and now you're CAMS, so that's really good. So what I would be looking at is thinking about any areas that you've got any weaknesses or any gaps. So what I did was, because I'd done sort of physical health with the council, I was doing older adults and forensics, and then I didn't really have any child work at that point. So what I did was I looked at what I was missing, and I thought that's children. So what I did was I started volunteering with the Brownies, and thank you, Gemma. You just miss me, don't you? We never see each other anymore, so you thought you'd tune into a live to see what I was doing. Looked. You might have weaknesses, and think about any voluntary work that you might be able to do to fill those. So if anyone hasn't got any adult mental health experience, you might think about volunteering with the Samaritans, or there's a really great service called Shout now, and you could think about actually becoming a volunteer counsellor, even just for a few hours a week, and sitting on your phone at home or sitting on your computer and texting people who come in. So just look at your CV holistically, and look at where somebody like me might be looking at it thinking, adult, adult, adult. Where's the child? Where's the learning disability? Where's the older adults? And just think about what you can do. So COVID times is making things a bit tricky, but could you go and kind of do some, some voluntary stuff at like sheltered housing schemes, befriending, to kind of up your older adult experience and your kind of low-level counselling skills? Could you think about, brownies, guides, scouts, cadets? Could you think about doing the sort of adult mental health stuff with Shout? Oh, I've kicked this tripod, sorry about that. Could you, the world's your lobster, really. Think about what you need to do and get out there and do it for yourself. Right, Cicalia, still beautiful name. How would you recommend tailoring your application to multiple courses? In essence, I wouldn't, Cicalia. It's tricky because if you can only go within your patch, then you can only go within your patch. But that does make things more tricky. So what I did was I picked the courses that I thought would be right for me. So at the time I was living with my parents, and geographically, I could do what I wanted really realistically. So I picked Hertfordshire, I picked Coventry and Warwick, I picked Bristol, which I actually don't think I think it's been disbanded. It might be back up and running, but it went to Plymouth at some point. And I picked Birmingham just because it was a bit closer. And I thought speculate for accumulate. But I knew, no, I didn't. I picked Leicester. Yeah, I think I picked Leicester. No, I didn't pick Leicester. Birmingham. I did pick Birmingham. Because I thought, well, there's no point in picking somewhere really far away if there's a chance Birmingham might accept me. But I knew I wasn't that academic, and so I knew it was unlikely, and that indeed was the case. I didn't get shortlisted, but I was shortlisted for all of the other three. So I would say, Cicalia, if you can tolerate the idea of perhaps being more mobile, then pick the courses that really resonate with you, because then your application will be consistent. Hi, Paul. Your application will be consistent, and all of the people recruiting will be thinking you've written it for them. Whereas if you look really disjointed because you're going, I love academia, oh, I really like, person-centred style courses, then it's going to make you look a bit disjointed. It's going to make you look disingenuous. It's going to make you look a bit split, because you are. So perhaps be honest. If there's a particular reason that's keeping you tied to your geographical area, then I would put that in your form. I would put that. Because they'll be thinking, well, why is she applying to... Because they know which courses... should these glasses be on? Should they be off? I don't know. What do you think? They're shining a bit, aren't they? If they're looking at your form, they know, if you pick Birmingham and you pick Coventry, they know they're very different courses. They're probably thinking she lives nearby, so they won't know where you live because they can't see that aspect of your form. But if it's all geographically close, they're going to know that, and they're going to be thinking, she just wants to be a psychologist, she's not necessarily choosing us. Who doesn't like to be chosen? Oh, hi, Mags. Who doesn't like to be chosen? Who doesn't like to be someone's first choice? So, yeah, does that help answer your question, Cicalia? Is there a reason why you would want to tailor your application to multiple courses? Has anyone else got any questions? Does anyone else fancy being a clinical psychologist? Or trainee? Because, believe it or not, actually, sometimes people do get on courses and realise it's not for them, doesn't work out, and they do what every person who wants to be a trainee feels as a cardinal sin, and they get on and they quit, and you're like, I could have had that place. But it does happen. It does happen. It didn't happen within my cohort, but it does happen in subsequent cohorts. Right, Alana, let me just press my button to see a bit more. My academic referee has left my university and can't write me a reference. Really? Have they left no forwarding details? I would always support somebody in that regard. No one else at my university knew me as well as this supervisor. Who would be best to ask to write an academic reference? I did some research as an honorary AP and got a paper published. Would this ClinSite be appropriate to put as an academic referee? Certainly, but I would level about that on your form as well. So I would. Is there no forwarding details? Have they not gone to a different uni? You know, you've got a little while. I would tap this person up on LinkedIn. I can't mention stalking because that's illegal, isn't it? But I would really try to be quite insistent that, you know, you'd really, really welcome them writing a reference. Is there any reason why you can't do that? They haven't passed away or anything, have they? They've just left. But that's not, you know, that's not the end. It's not the end of them existing. That's not the end of them caring about you. You know, if people contact me, then I'd be happy to write a reference if I felt it was appropriate. He's gone to a different uni, but he's going through his tribunal with the uni, so no association with them anymore. But he's got an association with you. Is he not allowed to write a reference for that reason? Oh, it's a really tricky situation, isn't it? I really feel for you. And I've got this feeling, this is what I do with patients, I've got this feeling in the pit of my stomach for you that just makes me feel, oh God, poor you. You know, you feel like you've earned that stripe. But yeah, if you can't get your first choice of reference, so he wants to but he's unable to, oh bless you. It is a tricky situation, I do feel for you. So in that situation I would level about that. So I think even, there certainly was when I was applying, there was a section where you could explain your choice of reference. Is there still that on the form? Hi Danielle. Is there still that option on a form? Or is that not there anymore? Whatever you do, just make sure you explain it. What you don't want is question marks hanging over somebody's head, thinking, why did they do that? That seems really odd. Yeah, so Alana, just say it on that form. So just mention that you've had XY experience, put your research stuff, if it led to any publications, put that, and say in an ideal world, I would have, you might not phrase it quite like that, but I would have wanted to approach the person who supervised this piece of work for me, but unfortunately, you know, through, there's been, you know, do you level with it? Tribunal? There's been some difficulties that means that this person's not allowed to write a reference for me because of university procedures related to a tribunal, something like that. Therefore, I've asked X, Y, and Z, because that's not your fault. But I understand that would make you feel really anxious, and you know, like, it's not going to be make or break for you because that's just not your fault. So you've done the work. You can put that in there, and you can reflect on all of this as well. Hi, Sarah. You can reflect on all of this, you know, because this is part of being a reflective practitioner. This is part of being human. This is part of, I haven't got my slippers on, and I hate having bare feet. Sorry, guys. Where are my slippers? Who knows? This is part of being human. Don't talk about your slippers in your form. It's important stuff, you know. You wanted to have this person on your form, and for reasons outside of your control, you're not able to have that, and that's really disappointing. This is part of life. We've got to be able to go through the ebb and flow. You've got to be able to roll with the changes. So just be honest. Just be your genuine self. I want to read your form, Alana, if I get to, and I want to see you shining out of it. Okay, so I won't know your name at that point. I don't think. I think we're screen blind. I won't know anything, but I want to see you as a unique person shining through on that form. And I'm sure that Sarah would say the same if you were screening Sarah. I don't want to read something that's mundane, something that's cookie cutter. I don't want to read someone else's form from a year ago or 2 years ago who gave you their form. I want you to think about the best aspects of their form that you'd like to keep, or not look at anyone's form at all and just write your own. I want it to be unique. I want it to be particular to you. Has anyone else got any questions about forms? I actually applied when you had to post it, so you had to send it recorded delivery, make sure it wasn't going to be there. Actually, I think you weren't allowed to send it recorded delivery in case it arrived on a Saturday, and then it'd just be lost in the ether. So I think you just had to send it first class, and you had to get your little postcards and put your little stamps on, and one of them you'd have to write application received, and then the other one you'd have to write references received or references applied for or something like that, and then you get that through the post and you'd be like, yes, they definitely got it. But it's all a bit different now because it's digital, isn't it? Cicalia, how do you strike a balance between being yourself and appealing to courses? I was myself and I appealed to courses. That's, I hope, the answer. You know, when I look at form number 1, form number 2 and form number 3, they are so different. Form number 3, I just felt within me as I was writing it that now was my time, and I had to get that on paper. I had to, because it was paper then, I had to get that across. I had to look at what I did really well, but you're not fallible, so I think there was an area for thinking about your weaknesses. You've got to be yourself. So, you know, I want to know what makes you unique, Cicalia. So what do you think about psychology? Why do you think psychology is right for you? Why do you hope to do this job? This wonderful job that I am very fortunate to do. Why do you want to do it? And that will be really important. That will be what needs to be on your form, really. If we do another party again, a watch party, it might be useful if I bring my form with me or have at least read it in the last 2 years. I think I might have read it last year because I had a wonderful honorary AP. I'm not sure if he's on here. And we went through it together, and I was trying to evidence to him just how every word counted. There wasn't a single word in there that wasn't packing a punch. I don't want any filler. I want all killer. Okay, it's got to be relevant. It's got to be good. It's got to be good. So I broke down my. So when I was at St Andrews, I actually had a post on 3 different wards, and I broke it down as 3 separate posts because I did 3 very separate jobs. So, we can't stay for too much longer, guys. I've got 20% of battery left. Did I just freeze then? Are you back? Are we back in the room? I was hoping to do this on my computer, and so I hadn't fully charged my phone, and I apologise for that. So yeah, if I know it was either Cicalia or Alana who asked me about summarising in 150 words, and if you've done like split roles, then one option might be to separate those out as separate jobs, and then think about what's unique and what's different about each role. Does that make sense? Has anyone else got any questions? Our numbers are dwindling, so I wonder whether we're approaching being done. What would be useful to think about tonight or in future? I appreciate that this was very short notice. I suddenly thought as I was preparing tea, I could do a live for potential aspiring trainees today. Why not do it tonight? I'm free. I thought my husband was going out because he's a drummer, and then he wasn't, and he's like, I'll set some lights up for you. And I was like, lovely, thanks, that'd be nice. So yeah, I've got some rather nice lights that hopefully don't make me look too shadowy. Anyway, has anyone got any other questions? It might be useful, I guess, for me to think about advertising this with more notice, but I do like a bit of impulsivity. I had the idea and I was like, let's give it a go. And it might be that, I think I can probably publish this afterwards and we might pick up some more views thereafter. Has anyone got any other questions? It's hard to know if anyone's typing. It's not like an iPhone where you can see the dots and like WhatsApp when it says typing and you're like, amazing, just sit and wait for what they're going to say. It might just be radio silence. Has anyone got any comments about my decor? Like, what you can't see, which is quite sad, is the lovely lights that my husband set up for me. Look. Oh, look. But you can't see that. You would have been able to see that on the desktop, but you can't see it on the phone. So I will know for future that the thing to do is to live stream on my phone. So that was, like I said, it was my first live. I needed you to be gentle with me. Have we got any other questions, or should we call it an evening, ladies and gentlemen? No more from you, Scalia, lovely. Do feel free to drop me a message. Thank you, Alana, for your comments about the neutral colour scheme. Good. Are they tulips? Are they wine glasses? Who knows? Nobody knows. It's like a perfect backdrop for a therapy session, isn't it? Are they? Well, yeah. Who knows? Who knows what they are? Alana and Sakalia, I think you are probably my only two people who are actually genuinely wanting to reply. So if you've got any questions, drop me a line. The rest of my audience are just very supportive, intrigued participants, I believe. Would it be helpful to chat again later in the month, Alana and Sakalia, and anybody else who's watching this? Feel free to comment after the event as well with replay, so I know that you've watched it. I'll keep a track on questions and comments and try and get back to you. Or has this been enough? You know, has this been at all helpful? Perhaps not. No other questions? Yeah, so it'd be helpful to get back together again with a little bit more notice. Oh, good. Oh, Emily's here as well. Lovely. You're applying this year, Emily, so you are my third person who's relevant, I think. I don't believe I've got anything to teach you, Emily. You've taken all my nuggets already. Kim's watching. Hi, Kim. Me and Kim were at secondary school together. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll try and look in my diary and schedule something in so that we can advertise it with more notice. Okay. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining me on my first ever live. It's been lovely having you here. You don't know if you'll apply this year, Emily. Sorry, I've been silent in the background. That's okay. I'd say you're probably, you've done an honorary post, haven't you? You did your degree, and I think you've been working in a paid post as well. You're on a dog walk, but didn't want to miss out. Bless you, that's dedication. I think it will let me do a replay anyway. I think it'll let me publish it so you can watch it at a later point and see the fun and games with my phone being upside down at the beginning and my fridge making noises, and my husband came and brought me a bit of extra light at some point, but I don't think you saw that. So yeah, what might be useful is if I can open up some questions and answers beforehand, and if you've got any before that, let me know, and I can always do a pre-record and put that out, or even do another live. This is not an easy process. I guess I want to make it as less daunting. Is that the right phrase? As non-daunting as possible. This is a great job, and I want to attract people who are passionate about being themselves but doing a really great job as well. So okay, thank you very much for joining me, and yeah, let's do this again. Okay, really nice catching up with you. Thank you for your questions, because that's really important to know that people are there. Take care, guys. Bye.